I had a kind of this question of what am I looking for? So there is something missing and something more.
You know, like I'm Black and Puerto Rican. So it was always like, I can fit everywhere but nowhere.
I always got treated as somebody who was somewhat different or odd. The long and the short of it is I never felt like I belonged.
You know, it did start questions that later were part of my spiritual search, like what is the purpose of life?
And I'm just like, the world is so much broader and more vast, like I need to ask questions. I'm genuinely curious.
I just kind of call it the atheist or the agnostic's prayer, to say, okay, God, I don't know what to think of you. You know, I don't know if you even exist, so to speak. But you know, I'm in search of you now. I really need to know what I'm doing here.
At the age of 7 is a story my mom loves to tell. I told her that I didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God, that I believed that he was a prophet.
La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah.
I lived a very particular lifestyle before I became a Muslim. And then I was forced to reevaluate how I was living my life.
Although now, of course, you know, the vast majority of Black people in this part of the world, you know, have some sort of affiliation to the Christian faith, many of their ancestors would have been Muslim.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh.
As a Catholic, it wasn't that far-fetched from the belief that I had already been brought up believing in.
But I feel like if God, once again, is all-knowing, all-powerful, he would give us a concrete set of rules to live our life. He wouldn't just let us wing it, because don't let me just wing it.
A lot of people assume that I am a conservative Muslim because I wear a hijab, and then they get to know me and realize I'm tattooed and have gay dads and still drink once in a while and am engaged to be married to a Hindu, and they kind of, everything that they knew just kind of falls out the window. I choose to wear it because it is a statement of my faith. I wear it as a protection for myself in many ways, where if people are confronted with hijab and don't want to interact with me, I'm almost safer in that way than if they interact with me, realize I'm Muslim, and then pull away from me.
Peace and blessing, everybody. Welcome to another scarf tutorial. This one is a special shout out to my fellow Acadians in New Brunswick. Bonne fête des Acadiens tout le monde. So this is the Acadian flag. So it has the blue, the star, the white, and the red. And I will try and replicate that in hijab. I'm going to be putting it backwards. I mean, I have to wear this all day at work, so don't judge me. There you go. So that's the look. Thank you very much, and peace and blessings. See you next time.
So I was raised in a house with a very faithful and yet very accepting Catholic mom and a very agnostic/atheist gay dad. About the age of 12, after what's called confirmation, I told my mother, you know, I've done all the way to what you've asked me. I don't believe in this, and I'm going to continue to go because I have to, but not because I believe it. My main issues were the hierarchy of the church. And I didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God, that I believed that he was a prophet. It's interesting because it's not like I had any understanding of Islam at all until, I would say grade 8, grade 9, where 9/11 happened.
So basically, after Ramadan and fasting and whatnot, for Eid, I wore this. The journey that I'm on, I'm trying to stay with the modesty thing. You know, you want to be cute, you want to feel good, but it's I don't want it to compromise what I'm trying to go for. I'm raised in the West, raised in New York, so we're taught that, you know, women dress how you want to dress. If you want to wear a mini skirt or a crop top or whatever, that's your expression. That's, you know, you're free. Yeah, it can make you feel good, oh, I look nice, but not all attention is good attention. And a lot of that you have to ask yourself, do I need this type of attention? I've always had a family full of people who are just pray hard, and God is the center of everything. They instilled that in me to where I was very young. I never really could leave that notion. I was born Christian. My family is non-denominational. So I grew up in church. I grew up going to Sunday school. The first seeds of me questioning Christianity were from high school. They talk about like the Trinity and stuff, and I would ask for clarification because I don't get it. But either it would be met with frustration or just believe and just have faith. And if you don't know, that's fine. I'd rather you just be honest and say, I don't know. But when you meet it with anger, that's a turnoff to me because I'm genuinely curious. If I believe in anything, it's just because I want to. I don't want to be a robot.
Janae is my niece. I raised her since she was a baby, so she calls me mom, and I call her my daughter. Because I had her since she was 2. She's very smart, she's very inquisitive. If she wants to know about something, no matter what anyone says, she goes after it. She researches, she finds out. That's who she is.
When I went to Dubai, that was for my 21st birthday. My mom, she surprised me and she took me because we used to love traveling. I traveled all the time. I was not Muslim at the time, and it's definitely different from when you read about things regarding Islam and then you go to a country where there's practicing Muslims and it's not just like 1 or 2, it's like everyone. We went to the mosque and there was not a cloud in the sky. It was so beautiful. The water was just shimmering. It was beautiful. It's like white marble everywhere. But I get there and I hear this sound. And I automatically just start like tearing up and I started crying. I don't know, it was beautiful. Now, whenever I hear the call to prayer, it still makes me feel emotional, but that first time was really, it kind of like shook me. I never knew much about Islam. Like I knew certain things, but never in depth. I said I'm gonna start doing research and I'm gonna see what makes sense for me.
When she was in school, she was inquiring about being a Muslim and the whole thing. And then when we went to Dubai, it really had an impact on her. So then she started researching even more.
At the time, I was actually dating my husband.
Hi, Mama. Hi. Assalamualaikum. Yeah, we just kind of grew up together. Like we kind of went through all of our early like childhood love affair kind of things with each other.
And then he started acting like funny.
I used to party a lot of nonsense.
I just felt disrespected. So I was like, you know what? You lost me. Like
It was completely my fault.
And then I was like heartbroken.
We broke up and we lost contact for a little bit, about like a year and a half, 2 years.
And then we kind of just like reconnected on purpose, by accident.
We just started meshing again and it just started kind of rekindled.
The timing was just right with everything and it just happened naturally. I told him like, hey, just so you know, I'm interested in Islam and I'm going to convert.
Like we would talk about stuff like that. She would tell me how she went to Dubai and she was like learning about Islam in college and stuff like that.
We were talking about like, okay, let's get an apartment soon and stuff like that. And then like a week later, I found out I was pregnant.
Her real quick on straight because she did.
Then when our daughter was coming, when Nayeli was on her way, I started to feel like, all right, maybe I should ground myself more in faith. I feel like that's very important to like have a family. Nayeli's born in June, and then by August, I was totally convinced. Allahu Akbar.
It was very surprising. He's actually the one who was like, yeah, I got into contact with which masjid for us to go to, and we're gonna take our shahada this day. I was like, oh.
So the shahada is literally the foundation of Islam. It's the core belief of Islam that without it, you're not a Muslim at all.
When it comes to reverting to Islam, the shahada is just one sentence. So there's people who, when they ask, okay, I'm ready, what do I have to do? And they come from, let's say, a Christian background, and people tell them it's just a sentence. They're like, really? That's it? Okay, that's easy. However, it does have to come from your heart, and you do have to be sincere. And you have to agree with the pillars of Islam.
وأشهد أن
So the Shahada is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadin abduhu wa rasuluh, which means I testify that there's one God, there's no God but Allah, there's nothing worthy of being worshipped but Allah, and that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his slave and messenger. I almost feel like a baby again. I almost feel like a child again. In Islam, we believe that Islam is everybody's natural religion. So when you're born as a baby, you're a Muslim. So everybody's natural state is a Muslim. But then the world, as you go through the world, you start picking up habits, you start picking up behaviors, and you leave the fold of Islam. So when you accept Islam, you revert back to your natural state. You're not converting, you're not changing, you're just going back to what you already knew.
وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون إنما تنذر من اتبع.
My journey into Islam was a spiritual search. I went through a process of trying to find something that seemed to be missing, something that seemed to be authentic. And I didn't simply leave my religion, I went more deeply into it. So that was looking at the contemplative traditions within Christianity. And that led me to the contemplative spiritual dimensions of Islam. It's beautiful spirituality, it supports the growth of an internal moral compass, of appropriate self-discipline as part of any kind of spiritual exercise. It's got all those elements, and I know it, I love it, and this is where I was led.
أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون.
Out of the 5 pillars of Islam, the first one is the testimony of faith. The next one is Salat, that's the 5 daily prayers. Then we have zakat, which is like paying of a certain amount of one's wealth towards the community. Then after that, there's fasting in Ramadan. And then there's Hajj. I do all of them. I do my Islamic responsibilities, the obligations of faith. But at this point, I am more in that area of exploring the connection that Islam is not cutting me off from the world in a certain ritual practice, but it's connecting me to a much larger world. I was 25 when I converted. Yeah, I found Abdullah. We both met in a history of Christian thought course. He was really a type of soulmate for me. He was coming from Iran. He was a bit disaffected with the type of religious hierarchies and the political uses of religion. So we were really looking for something spiritual. And we went on quite a journey. We went to a Hindu temple. We went to pray at the Benedictine Priory. And from there, we went to a Sufi zikr, and we went to a number of different things looking for a spiritual reality.
Like we were both students at the Islamic Institute at McGill University. She was the brightest student of the institute, and everybody loved her. As soon as she converted, she put on a scarf, everything changed. I could feel it.
This was all very scary to my mom.
I was angry. I was very upset, and I wasn't very kind. I had my perceptions of it just being a harsh religion for the girls. I told her, I wish you nothing but sons. I was just very angry. And so I talked to my priest, and I said, I'm just so angry. And he said, why are you angry? It's the same God. I said, no, it's not. And he said, yes, it is.
We have 6 children. We were living in poverty. So I had a whole lot of things to do and very little resources. It was multi-challenge. I mean, financial challenge, also figuring out what is a woman's role. These were some of the issues where I was constantly being affected by decisions that I wasn't making.
One of the issues that we had was my family. My mother came here, my sister and her family came. And from the perspective of my family, they're coming here and say, oh, this is a Western person who's become Muslim, so the expectation is that now she is exactly the same as us.
If I tried to make a plan, that created some tension with my partner who felt that that wasn't my area in life. So I wasn't able to make top-down decisions, but I was constantly coping with missing pieces.
I was under a lot of pressure from my family to make things go the way they wanted to go. And she resented it, she resisted it. But on the other hand, my hands are tied. So it was a big challenge for her to adjust to the cultural aspects of Islam.
The divorce was a sad inevitability, but some of the issues of being able to use my own agency, of needing situations that are psychologically healthy, that was something I tried very hard to negotiate within the marriage, and it just wasn't possible. I think because the family seems to be even healthier than it was before, people are adjusting to the new reality.
I challenge that too.
No, that's not a word.
I have been a person for whom spirituality and a connection with spirit, creator, God, Allah, whatever name you want to give that force, is and always has been really important.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boya pri hagafen.
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat, it's the day of rest for Jews.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam amotzi lehem min haaretz. Amen.
Amen.
I feel very strongly about my Jewish identity and culture. I stepped fully into that, and I lost extended family in the Holocaust. These are stories that are part of who I am, and I experienced real anti-Semitism growing up in Montreal when I got asked where my horns were and, called nasty names at school and all of that sort of stuff. I went and spent 3 years in Israel, Palestine. I had a very powerful experience of walking into Al-Aqsa, the mosque, which is built in Jerusalem, and just having a strong sense of feeling the divine in that space. It's a very precious and powerful space. For me, Judaism and Islam are so close to one another. They're actually even closer than Judaism and Christianity. When I was a child, my grandmother said to me, there is only one God, and he doesn't care what kind of a building you go into to talk to him. And I just thought, yeah, of course. So for me, the question really has always been, what feels good in terms of connecting with the spiritual?
People convert to Islam for many, many reasons. I've encountered people who converted to Islam because they fall in love with some element of the Islamic aesthetic. There's a certain love of the Islamic sort of cultural accoutrements from the Islamic manner of constantly referencing God in your life. There's a certain sort of beauty in Islam. People have converted to Islam after hearing the adhan, which is the call to prayer. You're supposed to stop what you're doing and go and prepare for prayer and remember God.
This is a sacred space. This is a safe space. Not everyone here is out about being in this space. Not everybody here is out about being Muslim or being queer or a part of this mosque. Our materials refer to God, Allah, in a variety of genders, he, she, and it. In Islam, God has no gender. Rima said to me, she says this has been a 20-plus year journey for her, coming to Islam. I'm not surprised by anybody who comes into Islam. And the fact that Rima is of Jewish heritage is actually very common. At one point, there were 6 active members in this community that had 1 or 2 Jewish parents.
Most of the times, have you realized when we get in trouble, we saw that coming. Like somehow your soul spoke to you, don't go there. But your mind will give you options, right? So quite often when we're going to trouble, our intuition, our mind, our soul is fighting with us, calling us, but we never listen to that.
What I particularly like about the Unity Mosque is that men and women are in that space together. There's a circle. They're not separated. The women aren't in some small, tiny little squishy, less nice part of the mosque while the men get all this like lovely, beautiful, inspiring space, which happens in a lot of masjids. And in the Unity Mosque, everybody's just together and people pray together and women lead prayer. So there's never a sense that some people are valued less.
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
آمين.
I never looked back about the decision to be Muslim. Some things I gave up that I'm going back and I'm saying there are more than one interpretation. There were some concerns because music is in one of those places that it's almost classified as an intoxicant. My parents were avid churchgoers. They really appreciated the idea of music as worship. Because of being involved in the music, we had choir practice, and certainly the feeling of spiritual upliftment, of touching a sense of beauty that's beyond vocabulary, that did impact me. My parents were professional musicians, so I had music in the house all the time. I learned to read music before I learned to read words. I might even have become a professional musician at one point had I not gone in this route. So when I let go of that, it was quite painful.
This was just very sad for me. And I think it was sad for her too, because it had been so much a part of her life. And it was an expression of devotion.
I'm finding my way back to music because I think I let it go much too soon.
I would say the top challenge for people who become anything, whether they're becoming Christian, becoming Muslim, or becoming Jewish or Hindu, whatever the case may be, is identity, how to identify yourself. And my experience with converts or reverts, whatever they want to call themselves, is that many of them tend to feel pressure to comply, to acquiesce to the demands of others, to feel accepted, to feel, oh, I need to be accepted by these people. I want to feel orthodox. It doesn't work that way. It might work superficially and it might give them quick satisfaction, but in the long term, it's very damaging.
That's something that will lead to...
A couple years ago, I went on a walk with her, and
the bells of the church were ringing, and she was like, she got a little bit emotional, and she's like, you know, Islam, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I would never trade it for anything. But at the same time, like, there's things I miss, and I know if I'd been Christian, like a convert to the Christian community, I would have had different supports, and I wouldn't have the same challenges. So I saw this moment of sadness, and I know that, you know, it wasn't all easy for her, but it inspires me that she 100% believes in what she's doing.
والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام.
They've always kind of looked at our family as a little bit odd. We always stood out, you know, we weren't quite Pakistani enough, we weren't quite Arab enough, we weren't quite, you know, like people like actually said exactly those words to us. They're like, you're Muslim, but you're not quite, you know, Afghan enough for us. You're not quite Arab enough for us, you know, so we're mid-identities, mid-two identities, you know.
كأنهم جراد منتشر مهطعين إلى الداع يقول الكافرون.
It's not. It's more so like the coverage that you want. So Jasmine, it's my girl. That's like, she's like one of my best friends. It's not your fault. That's like, I love her. Her family's like my family, and yeah, I love her.
We've known each other since we were in elementary school, but we've been really close since maybe like the age 14, 15. So a good solid 10 years we've been close. I do not normally dress this way. She took me to the mosque today for the first time.
I can show you the movements now since I'll be in a chair, so it'll be a little different since you'll be doing something different. I'm in a chair because like I'm pregnant.
Right.
I'll say Allahu Akbar and like I'll just bend over, so you'll just follow me.
Okay.
And then I'll do like this. When I first went, I didn't know how to pray. And then I walked downstairs and saw like children. I was like, this isn't the right place. By the time I went upstairs, all the sisters were leaving. And the sister was like, do you want to pray, sister? And I just started crying. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I don't know how to pray. Like, and then she was like, oh, like, okay, like, it's okay. She's like, here, I could teach you.
I've watched her grow in this, not even just, you know, religiously, but as a person, and she's so happy. That's another thing that made me want to know, you know, what's going on. Like, this is it for her, you know? And so I wanted to know, why is this it?
The reason why I chose Islam is because I didn't have to mold myself to fit it. Yeah. But like my core, I'm still Janae. You know, my physical appearance has changed, some of my social interactions have changed, but only for the better.
My identity is made up of a lot of different things. I'm Puerto Rican by ethnicity, I'm African American by ethnicity. That in itself I struggled with as a kid growing up. I'm like lighter skinned, so when I hang around with like the African Americans, they say, oh, you're Spanish. But then when I hang around the Puerto Ricans, they're like, oh, you don't speak Spanish, you're not Spanish. I would say I identify myself as a Muslim first. I was driving through my old neighborhood and I saw one of my old friends, like one of my friends that I grew up with. And he came to the car and I was actually wearing a thobe. So like I was wearing like prayer clothes, like the long drapey ones that like go all the way down. And he was like, yo, you a Muslim? I was like, yeah, like I'm a Muslim, alhamdulillah. And he was like, I didn't know you could be Puerto Rican and Muslim. I was like, yeah, like it's not mutually exclusive. Like anybody can be a Muslim.
الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد.
One of the co-founders of the Unity Mosque once told me, and it was a bit of a revelation for me, she said, when people convert to Islam, they are expected to take on a culture. And so, of course, the dominant narrative that's also based on a superiority complex is that the best one to adopt as a culture is an Arabized sort of, and it's a singular monolithic Arabic culture. You know, I'm aware of a lot of sort of white American converts or reverts who actually were the only white person at an African American mosque, because even though they were not black, they were American and they didn't have to fit into a cultural mode of somebody else. Now that might be easier if you're married to somebody from that culture or you know, that community. But, you know, we live in North America, and you shouldn't have to be Saudiized or Pakistaniized or whatever-ized in order to be Muslim.
The vast majority of Muslims are non-Arabs. You know, the Arab population is less than 14% of the Muslim population worldwide. Islam is, the Muslim world is extremely diverse. Its culture, its cuisine, its dress, etc. You have things that Muslims share. In terms of the prayer, the Muslim prayer is done in Arabic. So its purpose is to create unity. So anywhere you go in the world, every Muslim prays the same way. They all use the Quran is recited in Arabic, etc. Because that way you walk into any mosque anywhere around the world and you're able to, well, yeah, I understand this prayer. It's kind of like how Catholicism used to be in the past, where all the prayers were in Latin. So anywhere you go, you know, you're familiar with it.
For most people, if you do not hold all the pillars of Islam, that means you're not a Muslim. For me, I believe in God. I believe there is only one God, and I believe that Muhammad is his prophet. And if we go by that definition of Muslim as somebody who tries to submit herself to God, in the sense of I do try to demonstrate his mercy and his compassion, you know, everywhere I go, and in everything I do. So that part to me is what being a Muslim ultimately is for me in my daily spirituality anyway.
Elle a commencé par me demander qu'est-ce que tu dirais si j'étais musulmane. Je peux pas dire que ça m'a pas blessée, parce que c'est une autre. Mais j'ai dit, moi j'ai fait du mieux de ma connaissance, c'est son choix. Moi ça m'a béni, je peux pas dire autrement. T'sais. Puis je lui ai même dit à un certain moment donné, je suis pas convaincue que tu es musulmane à 100%. Dans sa façon d'agir, dans sa façon de faire, il y a des choses qui ne correspondent pas non plus avec le Coran comme tel.
The reality is that we all cherry pick when it comes to any religion, but no, I don't cherry pick the same way other people cherry pick. To me, my priority is my relationship with God. Praying. I don't do it 5 times a day. I will be completely honest with you. But when I do, it's always out of happiness. And it's something that I've always found to be a strong connection. Wearing hijab is like having a hug for your face. It's part of, an identity that you build for yourself. I've had a lot of comments being directed towards me. I've had a waitress ask me if my partner was forcing me to wear that.
Ironically, he's not even Muslim and couldn't care any less if I wear hijab or not.
The idea is simply that as Muslim women that we're oppressed or that we don't have a voice. That's not to say that it doesn't happen. The stereotypes are there for a reason because there are those experiences out there, but we have to remember that that's still a minority.
Allah, our guardian, from you is my help, and upon you alone.
You know that in my congregation, there are women who wear hijab all the time. There are women who don't wear it. There's some who wear it during prayer and some who don't wear it at all. And some women who wear it sometimes and don't wear it sometimes. I think that really should be up to the individual and is nobody's business. So while the Quran enjoins modesty for all believers, whatever their gender, usually this notion of modesty is used to restrain women, particularly in terms of social space or religious space or community space, right? And I think it's patriarchy, and I think it's misogyny, and it's about social control. I don't see anything in the Quran that proscribes or prescribes a particular mode of dress for modesty, and this is an age-old argument.
Well, I am a padre. I am a chaplain. I am the first female Muslim chaplain in the Canadian Armed Services. My role as a chaplain is really to help support the morale of the troops. And so it does give me a community role that does have a religious base to it. It has a certain amount of authority, and it's open to me as a woman. The idea is you minister to your own in your own community, you facilitate the worship of others, and you care for all. I was never expecting to find something like this. So now I have more, it's not just confidence, a sense of well-being and connection. I am able to use my own agency, I'm able to use my own discernment to apply whatever skills and abilities that I have to the situations in front of me. At this point, out of the 5 pillars of Islam, in this particular stage, I'm looking at more of what we call tawheed, or the oneness of God. Now I feel myself to be very much grounded as a Muslim, but I have to be able to deal with all kinds of, environments and people that are not going, it's not even going to be appropriate for me to say anything Islamic. I have to have that vision of compassion towards all of humanity, which is informed by Islam. So I find that in that vision, there is no God but Allah, not meaning I've got the right God, but I see the mark of the Creator in all of the circumstances and environments in which I need to function.
Puis, quelles sont les habiletés que tu as besoin pour être aussi un mentor effectif?
Observation.
Observation, ability to inspire so that the buy-in, yeah. Ability to detect talent. So, potential, yeah.
As we started to meet some of our classmates, I happened to see, a female member in a hijab. And obviously, I stick out a little bit as well. There's a lot of sensitivity that needs to be in place when there were accommodations out in the field that we needed to be able to stop and to be able to pray because it was getting late in the afternoon. She would go in her one behind this shack in the one place, I would go the other, and we'd have the time together where we both would pray at the same time. So it was an understanding of the military that, we have an opportunity to be able to embrace a level of leadership that is going to provide pathways of understanding for the rest of our members.
Islam recognizes how being out of your comfort zone, it makes it more difficult. The foundations of the rulings are to avoid harm and to promote healing.
So can I think where sometimes it's difficult to see
differentiation between harm and difficulty.
She's an extremely intelligent person and always challenges me to think outside the box, because she's always exposed to new circumstances that require new ways of looking at them religiously. Because she's the first in her field, everything she's doing nobody has really done before. So it forces me to go and say, okay, well, religiously, how do we maneuver in this new terrain?
It's helped me to work with Imam Jabara, because I think sometimes we're given one interpretation. We say, that's it, you're either a good Muslim or a bad Muslim. And I think that there are understandings that address that context. I also think there's many things I have to negotiate that people may not understand. Simple things like being in the presence of when alcohol is served. In the conservative community, I should not even be in the room. So one of the issues is shaking hands. For some people, shaking hands with the opposite gender is a non-negotiable point. For other people, it is not.
Alcohol is a little of a taboo area in Islam, because obviously Muslims are not supposed to be drinking alcohol, etc. There are exceptions. So if you're in a situation, you're a chaplain and that all the people there are drinking alcohol, your job there is, you're not there to cheer them on. Your job is to provide them with spiritual guidance or with mentorship or whatever the case may be, relating to things that they need, not to their eating or drinking habits.
Keeping it pointed in a safe direction, the first thing we're going to do to perform an unload is eliminate its...
When I joined the military, I knew this was a good decision for me, and they begrudgingly accepted that mom's going to do what's mom going to do, but I would have appreciated, support rather than, are you sure you need to do this?
Joining the military at this point where we're seeing a lot of Muslims are being killed in all these wars. So when my mom said the military, we were all like, couldn't you find something, a little toned down from the military? Couldn't have been like the police, couldn't have been, prison, anything. Like the military is just like, the job of the military really is killing people. That's what a soldier is supposed to be doing, So that association there was kind of uncomfortable.
It takes time As chaplains, we support people. I would support people in finding their humanity in all circumstances.
Please join me in prayer or in a moment of personal reflection. Loving God, we give you thanks for those who have given their lives in the service of justice and peace. As we remember those who sacrificed and died at D-Day, dans cette espérance, nous te prions. Amen.
We're different in a sense where I just don't do a lot of the things that I used to do. So like consuming alcohol, going out to parties, going out to the club. If you really want to stick to your religion and you want to live your faith correctly, then follow your religion wholeheartedly, enter. The Quran says, enter in Islam fully and submit.
I met his mother, but we never got married. And after Elisha and Jaden, the first two, we separated. Me and my family were raised Pentecostal. I've always thought of Muslims and Islam as nice people, but that's not what I was raised on, and that's not what I'm familiar with. But I said, he has my full support. He's a grown man. This is his family now. It's his time to lead his family. I was worried. I was worried that it was a negative religion, because that's what I see a lot of. A whole lot of killing, a whole lot of negativity, a whole lot of bombings, all of those things. But that's not my religion, so I have not fully dove into it to find out exactly what it really is about. So yeah, I told him that I believe that 90% of what is going on with Islam is negative. And but then I also told him that, you're my nephew, I love you. I'm not going to stop loving you because you chose a different religion.
Coming from where I come from, most of the African Americans, most of the Puerto Ricans don't know anything about Islam. So they think like you may be like a terrorist or something. So I have different ideas from everybody in my family. Like I'm radically different ideal-wise from most people in my family after embracing Islam. They say what they have to say without attacking, without feeling like combative.
All right, y'all. It's the moment that we've been waiting for. I have a military-grade smoke bomb. I gotta run out there and pop it. You ready? 3, 2, 1.
These are actually the walls of the house that my granny was born in South Africa. I went back a couple of years ago and found these shards of the house. I have a very multi-layered identity because I've most often been described as racially ambiguous looking. I was born in Johannesburg, and my parents left for Montreal when I was just shy of my 5th birthday. So my dad's mom converted to Judaism to marry my grandfather. And she was the one who came from a mixed Afrikaner, Cape-colored background. I did decide to embrace Islam. For me, it was like adding a layer to an already very textured set of identities, not to stop being one thing and become another thing. For me, it's really important that people understand that there is nothing inherently antagonistic about these two faith practices.
Rima never described her decision to begin to practice Islam as a conversion. She always framed it as, this is my faith practice. This is, how I choose to be spiritual. Looking at the faith through Rima's eyes, there is an incredible sense of spirituality. There is a sense of calmness.
David was fine with it. He was like, as long as you continue to eat my food and, have a glass of wine with me, then it's fine. I did get pushback. I got terrible pushback from cousins. And one cousin in particular, my embrace of Islam was really crossing a line. And she sent some absolutely horrible emails, hate-filled emails. And your business? And you know what? This faith is so close to the faith that I grew up in and what I was taught by my rabbi, that you never treat anybody else other than the way that you would want to be treated yourself. That is the core of what it means to be Jewish, is to, not do to anybody else what you would not want to have done to you. And so for me, it was almost an important demonstration. To some extent, and the embrace of Islam was a little bit like when the King of Denmark is said to have stood up during the Second World War and said to the Germans, if you're going to attack the Danish Jews, we're
all going to be Jewish. The best way that I can be Jewish is right now in this political climate is to be Muslim.
So it's been about 8 months now since I don't wear hijab anymore. I'm after wearing it for 5 years, every day. So it's a drastic choice that I've made, and in part because of the verbal attacks and the looks that were becoming increasingly harmful and threatening towards my partner. I cannot live with myself if my decision puts my partner at risk.
I miss hijab all the time. For the convenience of not having to do my hair in the morning, for sure, but also just in general, like it's a warm feeling to have this closeness of having God in proximity.
So my family is Bengali. So generally, Hindu Bengalis live in India, and generally Muslim Bengalis live in Bangladesh. Although our family is Hindu, we hung out with lots of Muslim Bengalis as well. In some ways, I'm definitely kind of Hindu and definitely kind of Buddhist, and definitely kind of Muslim as well, which I think is one element that gives compatibility between Stephanie and I, especially from her perspective. I was born in Canada. I grew up here. I've definitely experienced a wide spectrum of what you call prejudice and racism against me, solely because of how I look. Sometimes it's subtle, like little comments and stuff. Sometimes it's very explicit. I've been physically assaulted because of being brown. And then when you add on the layer of Islamophobia, where people will both look at someone wearing hijab like Steph and say, "Oh, gasp, you're a Muslim," there's an intersection of connecting that with me because I look like I could be Muslim, basically because I'm brown and have a beard, essentially. And then that opens a door to people making a lot of assumptions about that scenario. And typically those assumptions fall along the lines of I must be Muslim and I must have forced her, pressured her to convert, to Islam, etc. And it adds an extra layer of, pressure and stress in your life, quite frankly.
Be there a little bit later. Afterwards.
Her not wearing hijab definitely makes a lot of things easier in a sort of sociological context, simply because that whole layer of Islamophobic presumptuousness basically doesn't exist.
No.
So many of the attitudes around Muslim converts definitely relate to attitudes about Muslims in general.
So my dad and I had conflicts around the time of my Shahada. And at the end of the day, he decided that he did not believe that Islam was compatible with belief in upholding the sanctity of homosexuality, so he didn't want to be around. I understand where he was coming from. At the same time, wished he would have trusted a little bit more that I was going to be the daughter he raised.
I am who I am. I was born this way. I am gay. The choice that she made in the religion that she has taken is still a choice that she had other options. I did not have the other options. And she told me that she was doing her conversion. And she said, "What do you think about that?" And I said, "The religion is your choice." I said, "It's a choice that you're making." And I said, "I respect that. However," I said, "the religion you're choosing is a religion that in their book of life, they're stating that gay people should be put down.
The pink's still coming out.
And the religion is known to be, by the extremists and not so extremists, that the gay community is not welcomed and it shouldn't exist. I mean, the Catholic religion has similar things in it too, but I mean, it's not to that extreme."
My dad was speaking from both experience and also from stereotypes, right? So I think the idea that somebody could be religious and not homophobic was a bit of a foreign thought to him, because the reality is that a lot of people who are not only outwardly religious but outspokenly religious tend to also hold homophobic views. So the way I see it is, it's not my place to tell somebody what they should or shouldn't believe in Islam. I've done my research. I have found reconciliation.
Question of Islam and its relationship to
people who identify as LGBTQ. You know, can you be gay and can you be a Muslim? In my view, absolutely you can.
I mean, I think that people become Muslim for any number of reasons. I did not become Muslim because I'm socially conservative. I did not become Muslim in order to be around people who are socially conservative. I do not experience the Muslim community as one that is socially conservative. Muslims are a diverse group of people, just like any other group of people are. And you can't make assumptions about who they are exactly. There is no one monolith that's Islam, and there's no one monolith that's Muslim. And I kind of love being Muslim in the way that I am Muslim, because people are like, oh, you're not what I pictured. And that's okay. I'm now the NDP candidate for Beaches East York for the upcoming provincial election. Yeah, something I never expected to be doing. Every day that I get to talk about how do you make systemic change to make societies work for everyone is a good day.
I remember exactly where I was when I heard that the masjid in Quebec was under assault by a terrorist. I had just come back, in fact, from the march in Washington against the incoming president's forthcoming ban on, you'll remember, on Muslims being allowed into the United States. And everybody knew that what was happening in Quebec did not come just from one man, that it drew its horrific inspiration from politicians who had made Islamophobic statements.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
First off, when anything problematic happens, loss of life, trauma, I think of it in human terms. After the tragic shooting at Parliament Hill, there was a military person that was shot by a Muslim convert.
Guy with a rifle just around on the back corner and just pow, pow.
I was in lockdown when the shooting on Parliament Hill happened. I very narrowly missed passing by Parliament Hill because we were very close by. I remember when it happened, I thought, because I heard, oh, they're targeting people in uniform. And I was thinking of if somebody in uniform was a target, and then you have somebody who's Muslim and female and is now wearing the uniform, you really don't know what's going to happen.
There was a kind of a collective sense of panic that went through the town at the time. And I remember on one hand I thought, okay, if I look too happy or smiley, because I'm usually friendly, then all of a sudden people are going to think that I'm happy about things. But if I look too glower and unhappy, I look scary. And there is a sense that perhaps that's the way that people will be perceiving of me, or people who look like me or who are Muslim converts.
Around the shootings on Parliament Hill, it became a conversation of what converts are like in Canada. And I think that caused some concerns, especially amongst my family members.
Something bad can happen anywhere in the world. If a Muslim decides that, they want to attack a Hindu somewhere, a Buddhist somewhere, a Christian somewhere, and they use faith as their justification and their rationale, then all Muslims have to be concerned that people view them as someone who thinks like that. And that's an incredible sort of psychological hat to wear constantly. And I think that's what Muslims are constantly faced with in this world.
I think there is a collective fear within the Muslim community every time we see a terrorist attack on TV, because we know what the results of that is going to be. So often it's, an increase in hate crime, an increase simply in verbal abuse, but also just having to explain ourselves a lot more. Like, we wind up having to explain ourselves for something that we ourselves don't really understand, because the majority of us are not violent. So how can I explain violence when I have never felt the urge to be violent?
People tend to associate Islam with terrorists. So like the 9/11 attacks or the Boston bombings and stuff like that. But that doesn't indicate that Islam is the cause or the reason for that. Like, just like how someone can be a Christian and a murderer, right? Just because they're a Christian and a murderer doesn't mean Christians are murderers. I think it has a lot to do with the media. I think it has a lot to do with what narratives that people want to push forward.
The vast majority of times you see someone who's Muslim on television or a movie, they aren't just a normal person, typically. They are someone who's like, a bad guy or a terrorist or whatever. And that's been a long, long trend.
Impossible. Child goes to father.
You don't understand. He's gonna kill me. I have to get my daughter.
Madam, you wait, husband come.
I want my baby.
Madam!
You're in my country now. You're my wife. You do as I say, you understand me?
There's definitely a merging of stereotypes and false information when it comes to the religion, at least living in a Western country like America. So when you show women in burqas, which is just fully covered, not even showing their eyes, and being beaten or being stoned, or you can't go outside, or Malala, she got shot in the head for wanting to go get an education, and she's a Muslim woman. You hear these stories, and what if that's the only thing you ever hear about Islam? You're gonna say, oh, these women are not free. A lot of the stereotypes is that it's just a violent, closed-minded, kind of primitive existence.
Do you know what the penalty is for stealing?
No, please.
But it's not true in the majority of cases. It's just what's highlighted.
We don't see a diversity of Muslims on TV. We see very specific stereotypes, whether that's through movies or even on the news, right? Like, I always say this, you will never see on TV, on the news, making the 5 o'clock news, Muslim woman came home exhausted after a long day at work and watched TV eating pizza. Like, that is never going to be on the news.
You have over 2 billion Muslims in the world. And the amount of people who are psychologically unhinged, abnormal in their thought process, extremists in their ideology are a small, insignificant minority. To deny that it exists is ludicrous, but there are people like that. Do they represent Islam? They do not. Do they represent the majority of Muslims? No, they do not. The majority of Muslims do not think like that. Well, there are people who think like this, just like there are from every faith tradition. And even non-faith traditions. You have extremists everywhere.
Well, I was elected as the member of provincial parliament for Beaches East York. So the NDP became the official opposition in Ontario. And then I had to very quickly figure out what this job was all about. I had the opportunity to present a private member's bill, and it's to declare a day of remembrance for the victims of the shooting in Quebec City.
A little over 2 years ago, on January 29, 2017, a shooter walked into the Islamic Cultural Centre of Quebec City shortly after the conclusion of evening prayers at about 8 p.m., murdered 6 worshippers and injured 19 others.
The point of that action on Islamophobia is not just to stand up and say the words for the sake of saying the words, but to really push the government to say, what does it mean to tackle systemic Islamophobia? I would argue that hate is growing.
Fuck Islam! Fuck Islam! Fuck Islam!
of my other identities, and particularly because I am Jewish as well as Muslim, the way that I could frame it and what I had to say had a particularly powerful impact.
Rima has always been protective of the other. She's felt at times she was the other. And this has affected her life, affected her philosophy.
I'll see you later.
I'm proud of her every day of her life and my life. Every stand she takes is the right stand. Being supportive of Islam is, in some eyes, tantamount to being supportive of anti-Semitism. They're not really linked, but they are linked in the eyes of the establishment, the Jewish establishment. If you're pro-Palestinian, you're anti-Israel, you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-Semitic. These are correlations which don't hold up, but they're there. And this is the criticism that Rima has had to endure.
I worry about the people out here. There's so much hatred where there don't need to be any hatred, you know? I'm getting ready to tear up because it just gets you so emotional. I don't care what religion anyone is. I mean, they decide that's what they want to be, then let it be. I didn't have a negative reaction towards it. She said, "How do you feel with me wearing it?" Told her, "I feel fine."
I can't think of any other clothing that's so controversial, even amongst Muslims. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so peace be upon him, his wives covered their face. Now, they covered their face fully, so if the best women covered, then why not try to imitate them? You see people try to imitate their favorite celebrity or whatever. I find it beautiful. I find it an act of worship, and I love the modesty in it. I love the fact that I get to show who sees me and who doesn't. We definitely are becoming more conservative, because when we first reverted to Islam, I was not thinking about niqab. It's just, you're just trying to take it baby step at a time. For people who their opinions are, "Oh, you're so religious now," or "What about your life? Like, you used to be regular," I would challenge them and say, what is regular? What is normal? If you go to a different country, they would look at 20-year-olds here and say, what is going on?
I am the grandmother. I am her mother's mother. Johnny was my little princess. You know, we kind of raised Johnny to go to church and believe in God. Now, she's her own woman. She makes her own choice. She makes her own decision. It's different. Would I have chose this for her? No, I would not have.
At least we don't live in Canada.
You can see even when they walk down the street, sometimes I do fear for her because of the way I see sometimes that they treat them, you know, and that's my fear. That's my granddaughter. You know, I love my granddaughter. I love Elijah. You know, will I step in the way and take a bullet for them? Yes, I will, because I'm not going to let nobody hurt my granddaughter.
When it comes to niqab, I definitely support her wearing it. She feels like that's what's pleasing to Allah and that's what's going to bring her more blessing. I'm all for it, 100%. Of course, I want her to be safe, but if I'm going to be honest, I really don't care about Islamophobia. I don't live in fear. I I don't worry for her or my children. Like, of course, I know that's a reality that can happen, but I don't sit here like being scared. Like, oh, please don't put that on. Something might happen to you. Like, no. Like, at the end of the day, everything is in the hands of Allah.
I am excited. I am still a little bit nervous about the ceremony. I don't fully know everything I have to do, so we are winging it a little bit as we go along, but it's gonna be so fun. I think that my wedding in many ways is just part of all the complexities of my life, right? I am in a relationship with a Hindu, I am a Muslim, I do have Christian parents, and atheist parents. So, you know, we really tried to merge all of it together. Hindu to Jewish, I like that. So it's a bit of everything. It has longer sleeves, as a Muslim who likes to be somewhat modest. It's also white for the elements of like Western culture where the dress is traditionally white. And in South Asian culture, the wedding dress is usually red as an auspicious color. Now, all of this couldn't have been possible without my wonderful, wonderful mom who put it all together so expertly.
Ça m'a parlé qu'elle voulait quelque chose qui résume un peu l'hindouisme, le christianisme, puis le musulman. Je dis, c'est exactement dans ça qu'elle est. Fait.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. To me, Islam is all about intentions, and God knows I want him to recognize my union. And that's always been part of my faith in that sense that, like, you know, God's with me everywhere I go. My dad is walking me down the aisle. My in-laws are having the Hindu ceremony that they want. The best of all the worlds.
My relationship with Islam has been kind of a parallel where as you're falling in love, you're looking forward to like that new thing you're going to learn about them and that new aspect. And then it's more about adapting with it, growing with it. And I think in this sense, like Islam is something that I've had to evolve with as part of my life, but also finding ways to fit it into an ever-expanding life.
The deeper you reflect on Islam, deeper you reflect on the meaning of what it means to be in contact with the divine, you may have a very different understanding of what's going to bring you peace in this life and in the hereafter. People go through various journeys, you know. People will become very practicing, very traditional at some point, very literalist. And then later on, they'll become more sort of metaphysical, more sort of easygoing, elastic in their thinking and understanding. It's also a journey of personal reflection and of life and experience. And I don't know that everybody will end up the same place in the same way.
I once was lost, but now I'm found.
It's really a conversation between the individual and God's word and what people have said the Prophet, peace be upon him, did and how he lived his life.
There was a time that I just said, okay, the simplest thing is just to give up anything that has doubt, but it's anything that anybody ever has doubt about, you're left with very little. And for somebody who's come from a musical background, to say, oh, let's give all that up because somehow this is not acceptable for a Muslim woman, that's not healthy. And I was willing to say, okay, maybe I'll just be a so-so Muslim, a good enough Muslim. The challenge for me is to step into a sense of full personhood and not do that as compromising my Islam, but to say that's part of it.
Islam seeks healing, it seeks the betterment of people's lives, seeks ease. It does not seek to harm people. The foundations of faith, the foundations of understanding spirituality are based on flexibility, based on ease. So the concept of yusr was basically historically understood as flowing around an obstacles.
When she converted to Islam, at the beginning, that's all she talked about. Constantly. And it's like, don't get in my face with your religion. You know where I stand with religions. And for some reason, I think she kind of backed off. She doesn't talk about it as much. So I think her focus is now centered around her family.
When I became Muslim, part of the conversation I had with my family was, it's not that I became Muslim, it's that I realized I was Muslim. And I think even from when I was a more visible Muslim myself, my dad had not really as much a problem with me being Muslim as much as he had an issue with me being visibly Muslim and what that might entail and mean.
His favorite word. You know, most babies love no. He loves yeah.
I was mad excited to show, who was it? Was it my mom? And she was like, it looks like a grandma shirt. So this blue
is
that's my niqab. You want me to show you?
Yeah.
Is your eye slit right there?
Yeah.
I think so. Let me know.
Oh, didn't you say it could double as a burqa?
Yeah, but yes, baby. I'm putting on Titi's scarf on her niqab. Then if you want to just throw this part, because the flap, you should, even when it, yes, baby. You want to wear your pink scarf?
You gonna wear a scarf with us?
Yuck. Yeah, Titi. I had to fix Titi's scarf, mama. A Nayeli size. You need your socks? Where are you going?
I decided to revert because for a long time I wanted to already, but I just was like, I still partake in this, or I still am like this, or I still, certain things that are sinful.
But this is different. I don't know. I think it looks really nice. Some people might be scared, but that's on them.
When Janae and I were talking one day, and she's like, we're human. We all sin. That shouldn't be something that, has you or doesn't have you revert.
This.
I was like, I couldn't think of any other reason other than the fact that I'm stuck for the love waiting to be perfect. And it's obviously that's never going to happen. So I'm like, what, am I never going to revert? When I know that in my heart, that's what I'm feeling. So I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to just go ahead and follow my heart. I say follow my heart, but Allah guided me in a nutshell.
You don't have to be a special person. You just have to be true and sincere. I found more than what I was looking for. That's the crazy part. And I still feel like I don't deserve it. Yeah. No, I don't. The fact that he guided me and saved my soul by guiding me, I could have still been doing things that I thought, oh, that's not that bad. Let's go to brunch and turn up and drink this mimosa or hang out with my friends here. Even I could have been walking from a party or something and I could have died never knowing La ilaha illallah. I could have, everything changed. The way I raised my kids. It's that foundation and those values that society is lacking them.
We celebrate everything. We are a celebrating family. We celebrate the Eids, and we celebrate Christmas and Halloween and the Hindu holidays and the cultural holidays, and you know, so we have a very wide array of celebrations. I've always felt that I'd be a major hypocrite if I told my kid, you can only believe the way I believe, when I didn't wind up believing what my parents believed, right? I will offer a door to Islam, and I will teach him what I can, but I know ultimately, you know, I plan and God plans, and God's plan will win, so. Yes, it does. When I began the journey, I was surprised by it because I didn't expect to find religion. I was expecting to find ways to argue against religion. What surprised me was that I was a spiritual person. When I sit with myself and I ask myself, do I still want to be Muslim? Am I still Muslim? Can I still call myself a Muslim? I'm always gladly surprised that yes, I can. And yes, I am. And yes, I want to continue to be. I've asked myself this a million times since converting, and even before converting, like, do I truly believe that there is only one God? Do I truly believe that Muhammad was a prophet of God? Yes, I'm Muslim. It's always been that simple for me.
When I first became a Muslim, one of my teachers, he said to me, you know, Kofi, Islam is wide. It's straight, but it's wide. Suggesting that it's not as simple as you think it is. It has a clarity to it, but it's very wide. And then another teacher of mine told me, Kofi, Islam is straight, but it's very narrow. Both people who I respected, both people who were sincere Muslims, people who I was learning from, had a very different conception of Islam. And throughout my journey, I've encountered Islam in a very narrow way, Islam in a very wide way. As you grow, as you practice, as you develop, as you have more human experiences, you continue to engage the text, the more and more you have sometimes a deeper, differing understanding over time about things that earlier on you saw as more black and white. Because of that, I think it's not a shock, it's not a surprise to encounter a diversity of Muslims who have a very different approach to the faith.
Met the Queen. We played for her. As a military chaplain, I would attend various ceremonial functions, and there's often a bagpipe there. And I just found the bagpipe was glorious. So I said, that's on my bucket list. I'd love to learn to do that. I don't have that much time to practice, so I'm not going to become, you know, world famous. But I can play a tune now. I think at this point, I don't have to apologize for having a sense of aesthetics and joy and beauty that is connected to music or to art or things like that. I don't have to apologize for having leadership capabilities. But I think there was a time where all this is kind of suspect. And I think that this is not a good way to understand Islam. So I'm a lot less iffy about that.
When Barbara Lois decided to become Muslim, it was difficult for me. And yes, I was angry until the children were born. And then this wonderful attitude they had for each other. The way that they treat each other, and they won me over.
You're not great grandma, you're bad grandma. It's not precautions. I think you should have hit some precautions. Remember when
Fundamentally, we're souls.
Come on.
And so we're here to learn lessons about what is important and how we should treat each other. That is so much more important than any particular expression of religiosity. So whether it's Judaism or Christianity or Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism, they are literally different ways of getting to the same place. And sometimes we tear each other apart over these fundamentally ridiculous differences. I love the fact that I embraced Islam and that Islam is a part of my identity.
If I had any advice for anybody who's converting to Islam or actually to any religion, is to always remember the core values that you want to bring on a daily basis into your own life. And just that navigating the world with curiosity.
It's not easy for people to make changes in their life, especially if it's something that's like so huge, like switching religions. I had to be honest with myself on if I stood on this path, right, where would it take me? Like, how would my wife and my children see me? How would my family view me if I continued to live in this specific way of life, right? And I just chose to be like totally accountable, right? I chose to like, instead of making excuses and doing what felt comfortable, I did something different. I made a change.
I'm so happy. Like, I was trying to figure out how life worked, and when I learned about Islam, I realized Allah figured that out for us. Now it's just my job to follow.
We are struggling with some very, very challenging times. It's a time for people to really be grounded in humanity. We have to always remember the calling to be what we've claimed to be as good human beings.